All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go from Florida, Homestead, Miami Speedway. Keith Jackson and Donovan Ross on the front row, Jack Clevenger and Greg Parmalee on the second row, Brandon Templeton and John Tobias on the third row, Mike Kramer and Andy Patton on the fourth row, Gary Offit and Colin Johnston round out the field. We're not expecting Colin to take to the grid. He did not practice, and he did not qualify. And it does not look like Colin will be racing. The rest of the field is on track and ready to go. They will have to make at least one fuel stop, probably two, based on what we saw last week. Roughly around the 20-lap mark, should split it pretty evenly. And this is a track where keeping everything split evenly can pay off in big dividends. We'll see how it plays out. Keith Jackson up front, along with Donovan Ross. As always, if you have a favorite driver in the field, don't forget to cheer them on in the comments. And here we go. Pace car dives through pit road. And green flag flies at Homestead. Keith Jackson leads him off into turn one. Donovan Ross losing a little ground up top. Donovan slips back into third. Clevenger now has second. Mike Kramer on the high side, starting to make up some ground. He is already up into fifth. Parmalee losing some ground here early. Keith Jackson has already pulled out a 1 second lead on Clevenger and continues to pull away. The question will be, can Keith keep the pace up without melting the tires? Donovan has slipped back into fourth now. Oh, and a couple of cars get a little out of shape coming out of four. Mike Cramner holds on to it. He continues to hold on to fifth and is closing on Donovan. Keith Jackson just set the fastest lap so far, opened his lead up to 1.7. He's going to gain even more ground as there's a battle for second. Brandon Templeton takes it easily. From second on back, everybody is battling, but the leader has just gone. 1.9 second lead in 4 laps. Big Gene, I kind of have a sneaking suspicion you might be on the right track unless something goes wrong. Tobias looking under Mike. John couldn't get into the turn underneath, slid up, and now Parmalee looks underneath. A little bit of blinking out of Tobias as Parmalee has a run underneath. Parmalee fighting back, does have the momentum advantage up top. Jackson's lead now. Whoa, he is wall riding it through here. Jackson's lead now 2.3 seconds as Templeton has to hold off Clevenger. Clevenger to the bottom in 3 and 4. It is a drag race down the front stretch. Templeton has the momentum advantage up top. And while these two battle it out, the leader continues to pull away. This is definitely a track we do not see a lot of cautions at. Could potentially go green the whole way. The question is, will that benefit Jackson or not? I am stealing that, Wooly. Keith Jackson's lead 2.5 seconds over Templeton. Clevenger still right there in third. Donovan Ross in fourth. Mike Cramner in fifth. Parmalee in sixth. Tobias now in seventh. Patton back to eighth. And Gary Offutt in ninth. Colin Johnston did not take the grid, and I am surprised to see Offutt struggling here this early on. Templeton trying to reclaim second, and he will off the high side. Keith Jackson appears to have had an issue a moment ago. He lost about 0.2 of a second on his lead. He's now just 2.25 seconds ahead of Clevenger and Templeton. Hey, thank you, Gene. Jack Clevenger still holds on to second. Templeton right there in third. A battle back behind as Parmalee is on the move. Parmalee started in fourth but lost some ground early on. Now looks underneath Mike Cramner for fifth. And Parmalee gets it easy. Mike fighting back on the high side, but it may be academic at this point. Donovan Ross currently in fourth, not far behind Templeton in third. Clevenger is going back to second, and believe it or not, Clevenger is closing in on the leader. The gap now 2 seconds. Did Keith Jackson use his tires up too early? Brandon Templeton is fading quickly. He's now back to fourth as Ross goes by to take third. Parmalee now in fifth, closing in on the 2 cars ahead. Mike Cranmer staying with him. The lead gap right around 2 to 2.1 seconds, depending on where they are on the track. But Keith Jackson is losing a bunch of ground. I do believe Jackson used his tires up too soon. Despite the fact Clevenger was back there battling, somehow he conserved more. The gap now 1.9 seconds. Still a lot of racing to go. But now it'll be interesting to see who does what pit strategies here. Templeton has now dropped back into fifth. Mike Cranmer in sixth, and you know what? Let's take a ride around the track with Mike. Out of turn 4, down the front straightaway, across the start-finish line. Heads into turn 1, has to ease out of the throttle, get the car to set the nose. Maybe even give the brake pedal a little love tap to get that nose to set down. Back on the throttle as you come off of turn 2. Full send down into turn 3 again. Back off, ease off the throttle. Just brush your foot across the brake to set the nose. And back on the power as soon as possible. Lap time's definitely starting to fall off. Keith Jackson's fastest lap of 33.62. Last time by 34.62. A full second slower. And seeing that across the board for all the drivers. Jack Clevenger is definitely getting through 1 and 2. He's using that middle line. He is getting through 1 and 2 a lot faster than Keith Jackson, but Jackson, by virtue of using the high line, he carries a lot more momentum, but does have a lot more risk. However, since iRacing updated the aerodynamics to where you have that little cushion of air up there, the risk is not as much when you go up and ride the wall. Brandon Templeton currently holds on to 5th. Greg Parmalee in 4th. Donovan Ross in 3rd. Jack Clevenger in 2nd as we hit lap 20. And I didn't get fuel numbers from the drivers before the race, so we'll have to see how the fuel strategy plays out here. Last week at Dover, they had to make 2 stops. We'll see if Keith or any of the other drivers comes in this time. Jackson's going to stay out. Clevenger, Donovan Ross. Looks like everybody is going to stay out and stretch it. Templeton may have kissed the wall. He did kiss the wall. Got a little squirrely when he came down, opened the door, and Cranmer went through. Keith Jackson still holds that lead at about 2.1 seconds. Jack Clevenger definitely beats him through 1 and 2 every time. Parmalee back in 3rd, about 5.25 seconds back. Donovan Ross in 4th, about 0.6 of a second back, and Cranmer in 5th, about 4.25 seconds back and gaining. Brandon Templeton still in striking distance in 6th. Patton back in 7th. Gary Offit in 8th. And Tobias in 9th. Do they have enough fuel to split the race in two? Can they make it to the halfway point here? You know, every one of these drivers is just waiting for somebody to make the first move to pit road so they can get in and get some fresh Goodyears. As lap times continue to get worse. Track temperature, though, does continue to drop. Air temperature 80 degrees. Track temperature now down to 92. I suspect when they come out on fresh Goodyears, I have a sneaking suspicion these guys are going to be a lot faster and setting some fast laps as Andy Patton comes in from 9th. Andy's the first one to pit road. He hits his stall. Right sides are up. He'll get 4 tires and fuel. Patton's team had a great pit stop, 14.62 seconds, as he rolls back out. And Andy, for the moment, will be the fastest car on track. Let's see if we can ride along with Andy and see just how much a difference the fresh tires make. Definitely a little bit squirrelier, but, oh! Alright, you see the car in the distance. A little squirrely out of turn 2. He may not be there in a moment. Keith Jackson, Greg Parmalee, Donovan Ross, Mike Cramner, John Tobias, all on pit road. Jack Clevenger, Brandon Templeton, and Gary Offit stay out. Clevenger may be trying to split this race. Some of these drivers will have to make a second pit stop, but if he can make it past the halfway point, he can go the distance on one stop. Brandon Templeton is in. Gary Offit is in. And now Clevenger is in. Keith Jackson has moved up into second place. Will assume the lead again. Greg Parmalee now up into second. Donovan Ross in third. Clevenger still on pit road. His left sides are up now. And Jackson reclaims the lead as he comes past pit road. And he just set the fastest lap of the night, 33.31. Jack Clevenger comes off pit road in second place. But now Keith Jackson's lead is 8 seconds. Greg Parmalee currently in third. Donovan Ross in fourth. Mike Cramner in fifth. Jackson's lead continues to grow. Clevenger in second, about 8.5 seconds back. Parmalee now in third, about 4.5 seconds back. Donovan Ross in fourth, about 3.4 seconds back. He is closing the gap on Parmalee. Mike Cranmer in fifth, 5.5 seconds back with Andy Patton on his bumper. Brandon Templeton's strategy definitely bit him. He is now back in seventh. He is 3 seconds behind Patton and gaining. John Tobias in eighth, and he has Gary Offit in ninth, right behind. Jack Clevenger in second place has been playing this strategy game. He made it to the halfway point. It may be close on fuel, but he may be able to do this race on one stop. Whereas Keith Jackson had to pit on lap 27, 3 laps before Clevenger. That could be huge if he has to come in. Even if he just tops off on fuel, a splash and go stop could cost him the win. The leader also closing in on some lap traffic. Gary Offit just about a half straightaway ahead. Once Keith Jackson gets into lap traffic, things will get very interesting. But he's pulled out to a 10.7 second lead now. So he does have a little bit of room to be careful and navigate that traffic in a safe manner. Greg Parmalee in third is closing the gap quickly on Jack Clevenger in second, now less than 3 seconds behind. Parmalee, remember, started in fourth, dropped back to about seventh early, but has fought his way back into third place, and he is very fast at the moment. Brandon Templeton in seventh has caught the back bumper of Andy Patton now. Templeton made his way up to the front, was battling for second early on. Used the car up a little too soon. Now fighting his way back toward the front. Donovan Ross currently in fourth place, almost 4 seconds behind Parmalee. Donovan was gaining some ground early on, but Parmalee is just so fast. Right now, he is closing the gap on both Clevenger and Keith Jackson. Unfortunately, Parmalee about 14.8 seconds behind the leader. Gary Offit, John Tobias, currently in 8th and 9th. They have been battling back and forth. But now the leader is coming. Andy Patton has come in. Andy could be trying a little short pit strategy. He knows he can go the distance from here on fuel if he takes tires. With enough time left in the race, he might be able to make up a bunch of ground. His right sides are up. Will his strategy pay off? Keith Jackson closing in on that battle ahead, and Andy Patton is going to give us one heck of a view here in a moment. We'll wait till he comes out of turn 4, then we'll hop on board, and I'll be able to show you what I was trying to show you guys earlier, the difference between fresh tires and old tires. All right, on board with Andy Patton. 18 laps to go. It goes off into 1 and 2. There you see the leader ahead, closing in on lap traffic. But Andy, with the fresher tires, able to push the car harder. You stay in the gas longer, get back in the gas quicker. And you see them getting closer and closer and closer. It is definitely fun to be the one car on track that has fresh tires at tracks like this or Darlington or Rockingham, where you can just march through the field quickly. And you see how much closer he is getting every single lap. Keith Jackson still has the lead, continues to grow it. He just came through lap traffic. Now a 12.7 second lead. And here comes Andy Patton. He's caught up to that lap traffic. Just about caught up to it. Clevenger in second has had no answer all night for Keith Jackson. Keith has already lapped 3 cars, John Tobias, Gary Offit, and Andy Patton, but he is closing the gap on Brandon Templeton. And Donovan Ross is in for his final stop. And here comes the leader for his last stop of the night. Now, if we're right and Jack Clevenger can go the distance on fuel, This might be his moment. Donovan Ross has come to pit road. Greg Parmalee now up into second. Mike Cramner also on pit road now. Keith Jackson on his way back out. "12 laps to go." At the moment, Clevenger is 23 seconds ahead of Keith Jackson. Brandon Templeton is on pit road. Final stops underway. Jack Clevenger may not have to make one. But Keith Jackson is closing in on the leader due to the fresh tires. Although it does appear Keith Jackson took right side tires only. Keith Jackson now just 21 seconds behind the leader. 10 laps to go, and Greg Parmalee is giving up second. He is on pit road. Well, this is about to get interesting, folks. Jack Clevenger out front may not have to make a final stop because of how long he stretched his fuel on the first run. Keith Jackson, who's been up front dominating all night, made his final stop, took right side tires only. Will that be enough for him to close the gap and reclaim the lead? John Tobias now up into third. Greg Parmalee coming off pit road in fourth. Donovan Ross now in fifth. Mike Cramner in sixth. Brandon Templeton in seventh. Andy Patton now to eighth. Gary Offit in ninth. 8 laps to go. Keith Jackson now just 18 seconds behind. The last couple laps, Keith has been a second a lap faster than the leader, Jack Clevenger, but the real question is it enough? The answer at the moment, he's going to make up a lot more than 1 second a lap. At the moment, Keith Jackson actually needs to make up a little over 2 seconds a lap to reclaim the lead here. And he is definitely going to use up those new right side tires trying to run down Keith Jackson. Or trying to run down Jack Clevenger. As long as Clevenger has the fuel to go the distance, he may have this thing locked up. 6 laps to go. Keith Jackson in second, now just 15 seconds back. There is a bit of a battle going on between Brandon Templeton and Mike Cramner. They're about a half second apart. And fairly even pacing at the moment. 5 laps to go. Jackson now less than 14 seconds behind. He is definitely closing the gap rapidly. Last time, he was 1.5 seconds faster. 4 laps to go for Jack Clevenger. John Tobias is giving up third. He is on pit road. 3 laps to go for Clevenger and an 11.5 second lead. Keith Jackson definitely pushing the car to its limit. Greg Parmalee back up into third now. I have to agree with you, Roy. This is genius if Clevenger pulls it off. 2 laps to go. And a 10-second lead at the moment. Hey, good evening, Brandon. Unfortunately, yes, it is, but we'll have it on YouTube in a bit. And you never know, I might hop on tomorrow afternoon and do some new racing. And here we go. Jack Clevenger gets the white flag one more time around. A strategic genius move for Clevenger. He has an 8.9 second lead at the moment. Keith Jackson has done everything he can after leading the most laps, but he can't get to Clevenger in time. And out of turn 4, Clevenger gets it done and wins at Homestead. Wow. Gene, I really thought Jackson had it in the early race too, buddy. You too, Brandon. Hope to see you tomorrow, buddy. This is definitely going to be an interesting interview with the top 3. All right, I'm going to try and start bringing the top 3 in. Give me just a moment.
Up next to you, Keith, or the other side?
Hey, Greg, wanted to bring you up and congratulate you. A great podium finish here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
It was definitely a wild start to it. You started in 4th, drifted back to 7th, and then just worked your way back up to the top 3 throughout the night.
Just trying to kind of keep it underneath me, and I tell you, it was a handful. It was low grip and just trying to stay out of trouble.
Well, it definitely showed that it was hot out there early on. The track cooled significantly throughout the race, though, and it really seemed to help the speeds come up. Did it help the grip at all?
Yeah, it did a little bit. Just kind of had to just kind of be careful coming out of the turn there, and just kind of be a little soft on the throttle coming out. And other than that, yeah, it did get a little better as time went on. I think laid down a little bit of rubber probably helped. And like I said, the temperature of the track went down a little bit. So, yeah, it made for some good racing.
Well, man, you definitely had an awesome run to give yourself a 3rd place finish tonight. Congratulations. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to thank you and Premier Door and C2C for putting it on, and all my team members and Sim Racing Concepts. So appreciate everybody putting this thing on.
Well, great job tonight, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
We don't have our second place Keith Jackson yet, but let's get a word with our winner. Jack, I'm going to tell you, people in the comments were saying you are a strategetic genius.
That started on the pace laps. I looked at my fuel. I'm like, oh, this says I can go 30 laps. And I just kind of started saving where I could. Realized I could make the lap 30. And then I knew Keith was going to not be able to make it where he pitted. So I'm like, okay, if I can just, run 3/4 throttle this whole run, I can probably make it work. And it played out where I got a big enough lead on him. I knew he was gaining on me, but I kept an eye on the relative, and I knew he wasn't going to be able to catch me. But I think he was 11 seconds back with 2 to go. I'm like, all right, I'm good as long as I can make it.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing. We didn't know. I knew you had to have been close. Did you happen to look and see how many laps of fuel you had left?
Said I had 0.3 when I crossed the line.
You were really cutting it close, but it still worked perfectly. It was a genius strategy, man. Congratulations. That was an awesome win.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks, Devo and Keith and Gary and Greg for hanging out, and you guys for the broadcast, and Coast to Coast for the place to race. I appreciate it.
Well, congratulations. Great win.
Thank you.
And let's talk to second place, Keith Jackson. Keith, I have to tell you, early on in the race, people were cheering for you and thought you had this thing locked up.
Yeah, he freaking saved fuel on me and ended up jumping ahead and was able to stretch it. I didn't think it could be done, but he did a damn good job.
Definitely did, but man, one heck of a run. You were really flying. I mean, in 4 laps, the first 4 laps, you actually opened up a 2-second lead and just continued checking out. In fact, before your final stop, I believe your lead was like 14.5 seconds.
Yeah, it was. I felt good. I just needed to be a little bit less on the loud pedal and save a little bit more fuel.
Well, you still managed to come home in second and have one heck of a run tonight, man. Congratulations. Obviously the fastest car, but anybody you'd like to thank?
Devo, Greg, Jack, Gary, and you for hopping in here and doing the broadcast and calling and everybody that gets these things organized and going for us in the evenings.
Well, man, congratulations. Great finish tonight.
Yep, appreciate you, boss.
Well, there you have it. Keith Jackson didn't think it was possible, thought he wouldn't be able to stretch the fuel. Wow. It was definitely strategy over speed tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, C12 Motorsports is on track. Plus, we are going to try and get on tomorrow afternoon and do a little racing. Make sure you're following on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube. We are going to give away some DLC for American Truck Sim very, very soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope y'all had as much fun as we did. Have a great night, everybody.